burned through $47,000 in 3 months and had absolutely no idea why. I was sending mailers, taking calls, making offers, and my bank account was just hemorrhaging cash. And here's the scary part. Most land investors are doing the exact same thing right now, and they don't even know it. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you these 6 numbers that changed everything for me, how to track them in a system that actually works, and why the investors who avoid this end up broke while others scale to 7 figures using the exact same marketing budget. By the end of the video, you'll know exactly what's printing money in your business and what's setting it on fire. Let's go. So let me paint you a picture. It's 2 a.m. on Tuesday night. I'm sitting at my kitchen with bank statements spread everywhere, trying to figure out where the hell my money went. I'd sent out 15,000 mailers that quarter. I talked to dozens of landowners. I closed 3 deals that barely covered my marketing costs. And I remember just staring at those numbers and thinking, I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm doing everything the gurus told me, and I'm basically running a break-even charity that steals my time and my sanity. Does that sound familiar? I mean, here's what no one tells you about land investing. The business model works. It's simple, but it's not easy. Only if you can see what's actually happening in your business. And most of us were flying a commercial airline with no instrument panel. Think about that. You wouldn't get on a plane where the pilot couldn't see their altitude, their fuel level, whenever their engines are on fire. But that's exactly how most land investors run their businesses. We're pushing the throttle. We're taking off. We're staying in the air for a little while, and we have no idea something's catastrophically wrong until we're in a nosedive. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. The difference between a land investor making $300,000 a year usually isn't about their marketing budget, their market, or even their work ethic. It's 6 numbers, 6 simple numbers that'll take less than 10 minutes a day to track. And I'm going to walk you through each one. But first, let me tell you about 2 partners I started coaching. These guys had been in land for over a year. They'd closed deals, they've made money, but their business was completely inconsistent and underwater. 1 month they'd make 20K, the next month nothing. They were hemorrhaging cash and could not figure out why. They were ready to quit and go back to their W-2 jobs, but they reached out for one-on-one coaching, hoping someone could help them see what they couldn't. So I asked them 3 simple questions. What's your offer to contract conversion rate? They gave me completely blank stares. Okay, how many offers do you send out per week? One guy shrugged, the other guy pulled out his phone and started scrolling through texts. How many inbound calls have you been missing? Nothing. Literally radio silence. These 2 guys weren't failing because they were lazy or stupid. They'd proven they could close deals. They'd proven they could work hard, but they were making a multi-million-dollar business decisions with 0 data. They were literally guessing their way through every decision. And the market reasonably was punishing them for this. And here is what's terrifying. I bet my last dollar that 80% of people watching this video right now are in the exact same situation. You're working your butt off, you're doing the work, but you have no visibility into what actually creates revenue, what's just creating activity. Because here's what the hard truth that no one wants to hear. Activity doesn't equal results. You can be busy all day long and still be broke. You can answer calls, send offers, negotiate deals, and still be burning cash. Unless you're tracking the right numbers, you're just hoping things work out. And hope is not a business strategy. So what happened with those 2 partners? I'll tell you in a minute, but first, I need you to understand these 6 KPIs that changed everything for my business. Listen, I'm not talking about vanity metrics here. I'm not talking about how many Instagram followers you have or how pretty your logo looks. I'm talking about real revenue, driving actions that directly determine whether you eat steak or ramen this month. KPI number 1 is gross leads, the pipeline foundation. This is the total number of leads entering your system every single week. Not just the hot ones, not just the ones who called you back, every single lead that comes into your world. Now here's why this matters. If you don't have enough leads coming in, nothing else matters. You can have a perfect conversion rate, perfect scripts, perfect everything, but you only got 10 leads a month, you're starving. Most successful land investors are generating at least 50 to 100 gross leads per month. Some are doing 200, 300, 400. If you're not hitting at least 50, you don't have a conversion problem. You have a lead generation problem. And that means you need to fix your marketing first before you worry about anything else. Now you track this weekly. How many leads came in? Where did they come from? And this is your early warning system. KPI number 2 is outreach volume, the activity multiplier. How many calls are you making to people in your CRM every single week? Not how many mailers you sent, not how many emails went out. I mean picking up the phone and literally calling real human beings who are in your database. If you're not making enough calls, there are only 3 reasons. 1, you're lazy, and if that's the case, you need to get honest with yourself about whether you actually want to run a business or just play entrepreneur and tell your high school friends. 2, you don't have a right system. You're manually dialing numbers, you don't have a good call list, you're wasting time on admin work instead of actually talking to sellers. Or number 3, and frankly this is the most common, you don't have enough leads, which takes us back to KPI number 1. If you don't have enough leads to call, you got to fix that problem first. The magic number for me is at least 20 to 30 real conversations per week. If you're not hitting that, your pipeline is going to dry up faster than you think. KPI number 3, lead to offer ratio. This is your filter test. This is where most land investors blow themselves up without realizing it. You're probably sending out offers on every single property that shows even a flicker of interest. That's not being aggressive, that's being desperate. And desperation costs us money. Your lead to offer ratio tells you if you're qualifying properly. If you're sending offers to more than 40 to 50% of your leads, you're wasting time on bad deals. And you're sending offers to less than 20, you're being too picky and leaving money on the table. The sweet spot that we've found is somewhere around 30 to 45% for most markets. And here's the thing, you won't know where you are unless you actually track it. And this connects directly to the biggest mistake I'll see, and I'll explain this in a second. But first, KPI number 4, offer to contract ratio. This is the truth serum. This is the number that will humble you real fast. This is how many offers actually turn into signed contracts. If you're making 100 offers and getting 5 contracts, you got a 5% conversion rate. Industry standard is somewhere between 5 to 10%, but here's what no one tells you. That number should improve every single month. If it doesn't, you're not learning. Every rejected offer is data. Every accepted offer is data. And if you track this religiously, you will see that patterns emerge. You start to see that offers 10% below market value close at 15, but offers 5% close at 4. You start to see certain property types convert better. You start to see which negotiation tactics work and which ones tank deals. But you only see this if you're tracking it. Now, KPI number 5 is talk time. This is the efficiency indicator. This is your total time on the phone with sellers every single week. Not just number of calls, the actual minutes you're spending in conversations. Now here's why this matters. You can make 50 calls and spend 10 minutes in total on the phone if you're hanging up after 15 seconds. That's not outreach, that's checking boxes. Quality conversations take time. I always tell my sales guys that you do not earn the right to give an offer unless you've been on a conversation with a seller for over 10 minutes. You need to ask questions, you need to build rapport, you need to understand the situation. If your average call is under 5 minutes, you're not going deep enough. The best land investors I know are spending 10 to 15 hours per week on the phone. Now that's real talk time, not dialing time, not voicemail time, actual conversations. You want to track this ruthlessly because if your talk time is low, but your outreach volume looks good, you found your problem. You're not actually connecting, you are dialing. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This sounds like a lot of work. I don't have time to track all this. And then I have to say, you don't have time not to, because right now you're working twice as hard and making half as much because you're doing the same mistakes over and over again. KPI number 6 is the cash conversion cycle. This is the bottleneck detector. This is your total time from first contract to cash in the bank. And this metrics will expose every inefficiency in your system. Here's where this gets really powerful. You need to break this down into 2 phases. Under contract to close is phase 1. How long from signed under contract to closing day? If it's more than 40 days on average, something is broken in your process. Maybe your title company's slow. Maybe your contracts have issues. Maybe you need to hire a new transaction coordinator. Maybe you need to organize your back end. But this will give you enough information to start to make better decisions on what you should be investing your time in between contract to close. Close to sales phase number 2. If you're wholesaling, assigning, or flipping, this is how fast you're moving properties. If you're buying, this is how long inventory sits before it sells. Either way, time equals money. The faster you move, the more deals you can do, the faster you can scale. If your total cash conversion is over 100 or 200 days, you're leaving massive money on the table. The best land investors I know are between about 110 to 140, not because they're pushy, because they've systemized their follow-up and eliminated friction in their process. And that brings me to the system that you need to implement starting today. You understand the 6 KPIs, now what? Here's the framework that separates the amateurs from the professionals. Step number 1, track in a real system. Listen, if you're serious about scaling, you need to track this in a Google Sheet that is dialed in. You shouldn't be tracking this in most spreadsheets. Step number 1 is track it in a real system. Look, I know the Google Sheet that you got from your $5,000 course that the person is still not an operator in. Seems like it's good enough, but having this really clear, manually tracking this every single week will give you visibility in what you need to focus on in your business. Step 2, daily check-in. 5 minutes each morning. Every single morning before you do anything else, you're going to pull up your dashboard and look at yesterday's numbers. How many calls did you make? How many leads came in? How much talk time did you have? How many offers did I send? Any new contract? That's it, 5 minutes. But here's the magic. What gets measured gets managed. The moment you start tracking these numbers, your behavior will completely change. You become aware. You start making better decisions. Step number 3 is a weekly review. 30 minutes every Friday or Sunday. Every Sunday, you're going to pull back everything and look at the patterns. You're calculating your ratios. What's my lead to offer ratio this week? What's my offer to contract ratio? What's my offer to close rate? Am I improving or declining? Where's my talk time compared to last week? And then, and this is critical, you're going to ask yourself, what's the one thing I can change next week to improve these numbers by 5 or 10%? And if you're managing people, it's the same exact thing, right? You don't want to double your business overnight, just one small improvement, slight edges. Maybe it's making more calls. Maybe it's asking better qualifying questions. Maybe it's following up faster. Small improvements like this completely compound, right? You don't have to boil the ocean. The difference between doing an extra deal per month is not installing crazy systems. It's actually understanding what is going on in my business and making slight tweaks in order to improve it. Step 4 is a monthly deep dive. Once a month, you're going to go deep. You're pulling every piece of data and looking for the story it is telling you. Where are you leaking money? Is it in your lead generation, your follow-up, your offer strategy? Where are you printing monies? What properties are converting best? What marketing channels are crushing it? What parts of your process are smooth? What are rough? This is where you make strategic decisions. This is where you decide to double down on what's working and kill what is dying. And here's what no one talks about. This process does something profound to your psychology. When you track these numbers religiously, you go from feeling like the victim of randomness to feeling like the pilot of your own business. You stop saying, I don't know why I'm not closing deals, and start saying, my offer to contract ratio dropped from 6% to 4% this month, which means I need to adjust my qualifying process. You start feeling anxious and start feeling empowered. Remember those 2 partners, the guys who were about to quit at the beginning of this? Here's what happened. We implemented this exact framework. We started tracking their 6 KPIs daily. And within the first week, we found 3 massive problems they had no idea existed. Problem number 1, their gross reads were fine. They were doing about 180 per month, but their outreach volume was garbage. They were only making 15 to 20 calls per week total between both of them. Why? Because they didn't have a system. They were manually going through spreadsheets, trying to remember who to call, wasting hours just getting organized. We fixed that by setting up their CRM properly with daily call lists, daily status, and outreach volume jumped to 40 calls per day. Problem number 2, their talk time was under 2 minutes per call on average. They were treating every conversation like a transaction. Hey, you want to sell? Here's my offer. Let me know. Click. They weren't building rapport. They weren't asking the seller about their situation. They weren't creating any emotional connection. So even when they sent offers, sellers had 0 reason to trust them over the next guy. We coached them on asking better questions and actually listening. Talk time went up to 9 minutes on average, and guess what? Their offer to contract rate started to climb. Problem number 3, their cash conversion cycle was over 200 days on average from first contract to cash in the bank. It was taking over 5 months. It was taking over 6 months. Why? Well, because their under contract to close phase was over 60 days. Their title company was slow as molasses, and they had no idea because they never measured it. And their transaction coordinator needed to be fired. We switched them to a faster title company. Cash conversion cycle dropped 30 days. That meant they could almost do twice as many deals, X more per year. These weren't sexy fixes. Nothing's gonna make a viral TikTok about switching title companies or firing transaction coordinator or asking better questions on calls, but it is what actually moves the needle in business. And over the next 90 days, they closed 8 deals. 8 deals that generated over $160,000 in profit from tracking 6 numbers. Not because they worked harder, because they finally had visibility into what was working and what was not. And that is what I want you to understand at a deep level. You're not broken. Your market is not saturated. Land investing is not dying. You're just flying blind. And the second you turn on the instrument, everything changes. So here's what we're gonna do. I want you to start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Literally stop this YouTube video watch it to the end. And if you actually want our in-depth KPI tracking sheet, the exact one we use with our coaching clients, there's a link in the description. It's completely plug and play. You just drop your numbers and it calculates everything automatically. Here's a commitment I need from you though. For the next 30 days, track these 6 KPIs every single day, because here's what will happen. In the next 30 days, you're gonna see patterns you've never noticed before. You're gonna identify problems you didn't know you had. And you're gonna have the data you need to make intelligent decisions instead of emotional ones. But what if I don't have enough activity to track, Clay? Then that's your answer. You need more activity. At least now you know. At least now you can fix it. What if my numbers are terrible? Good. Better to know you're terrible and fix it than to be terrible and wonder why you're broke. Awareness is the first step to improvement. Now here's the reality. Everything I taught you is 100% doable on your own. You can set up your CRM, you can implement these KPIs, you can turn your land business around starting today. But if you want to speed this up, if you want someone to help you build your system, look, I can't force you to track your numbers. I can't force you to implement these systems. And honestly, most people watching this video won't do anything. They'll go on with their day after they watch it. They'll nod along, they maybe even feel inspired for an hour, and then they'll go back to flying blind. But if you're that small percentage who actually takes action, who sets up their CRM today, who commits to 30 days of traction, who decides to treat this like a real business that it is, you're gonna look back at this moment as a turning point. The moment you stopped being a hopeful gambler and became a professional operator. The moment you stopped burning cash and started printing it. The moment you finally took control. Your numbers are trying to tell you a story. It's time to start listening. So if you found this valuable, smash that subscribe button, because I drop land investing truth bombs like this every single week. No fluff, no hypes, just systems that work. Download the KPI sheet below in the description. And if you want your personalized scaling roadmap to take your business from where it is to the next level, there's a scaling roadmap link down below. You can download it completely free. I'll see you on the next one.